Holy mackerel. It's Monday morning, 9 o'clock. Okay. Give you a minute of unadulterated epidemic instrumental here in cloudy Boca Raton. What is this? It's 75.6 degrees outside. My weather doodad I got sitting here next to me. Amazing, the technology. I got a little weather sensor outside my 8th floor multifamily building here, Rural Palm Place. It's 69.8 in my little studio here, a little chilly. I got 3 layers of stuff on. If I close these doors, so this is like a 9 by 12 room here, which we've divided in half. I put a piece of boot tape across the middle of a 6-foot table, and I get 24 inches, and Marilyn gets the other 24 inches. Yep, it's a little dividing line there. So we have our political boundaries. So I've styled my little studio here. I got my MacBook Pro here. I got a couple of old iPads here and here. I got a new iPad, sort of. It's a new iPad here. I had an older iPad, and it went kafooey. And I have this insurance, which was offered through, I believe, AT&T, and it covers all your electronical stuff in your dwelling. It doesn't have to be a house. It could be a condo. It could be an apartment. Has to be an actual physical address. I don't think it could be a campsite. So I got like a big screen TV in there, and I got all these devices in here. Well, if one of them goes bingo, I call up Assured, something like that, and and if I forget what the name of it is, I go to AT&T and look at my bill. It costs like $30 a month. But so I had an iPad. Covers all electronic stuff. So I have an iPad, that sits in this position right here, and it wouldn't do anything. It wouldn't charge. It wouldn't say hello. It just wouldn't do a darn thing. The screen was dark. I go, oh crap! So I called. Went online. I think I went online. Went to their site, and I plugged in the information regarding what I just said. The iPad doesn't work, and I pushed a button, and they said, "Okay, send it in to us. We are FedExing to you." You sign a statement saying you're not defrauding us or, anything like that, which of course I would never think about it. That's the last thing you want to do is defraud an insurance company for a $1,000 iPad. I don't think so. I sat on the board of an insurance company, and they get, all those executives get paid by figuring out how to not pay claims. Yeah, that's their role. So the last thing I want to do is fool around with an insurance company. I pay the dues, and if I have a valid claim, I'll do it. Otherwise, don't. Yeah. The WID method WIDD, W-I-D-D. When in doubt, don't. Remember Biden told Iran, don't. There's a military plan for the United States. Don't. Oh gosh, only in America. Anyway, so I sent my, so the next day, the next morning, it's, if you make your claim before 4 p.m., they ship out a new iPad with the exact specifications as, the one that went to Kafui. And it turns out, the rest of this now is a little bit of a guess. There's either one or two things. They either couldn't replace the item that broke because it was 4 years old or 5 years old, and they didn't have any anymore. And they sent me a brand new thin 13-inch iPad Pro. I had it was a 12.9-inch 11, iPad Pro. 1 terabyte of storage and the cellular chips and it cost, when I bought it 5 years ago, it cost like, I got it on sale, but the retail, if you went to the Apple store, was $19.95, $2,000. By the time you had tax, title, and whatever, it was a couple $1,000, which that ain't, hey, I mean, these iPads are marvelous. Don't get me wrong, but anyway, so I got a brand new one of these suckers. I had a copay. of $275. Well, that was quite an insurance claim. It cost me $275 to get a $2,100 iPad as an insurance claim because the other one went to Kafui, and I shipped it back to them. They sent me a box to send it back in and a shipping label, and everything was prepaid and da-ba-da-ba-boo, and so that was that. Anyway, so if you're wondering, because I got all these devices here. Well, they're all old, except for I'm not old. I'm crowding 80, but I'm not old. No, I'm a spring chicken. A chicken with too many feathers. Anyway, so that's why this is a new iPad. It's not because I bought it. It's because the old one went Kafui, and the insurance provides that I can have up to 4 computer-type devices in the insurance pool of things that you can insure. So I got 1, 2, 3, 4. Yep, that's what I have. And they're all cellular, so they dial into the cell system if there's no Wi-Fi, which is the way you do it. Because if you have a business meeting, of course I don't have as many as them as I used to, but I still have one here now and then, and I can pack this. I can just close this iPad up. I'll just move this thing out of the way here. I'd close this up, and there is a nice, neat, with the keyboard and everything. There we go. Yep. It's marvelous. Thank you, Steve Jobs and the team. That's when the iPad, he held up this thing. So this whole revolution, I got news for you. These iPads are like a really comprehensive computer, and it's touchscreen, which, as you can see, I'm moving the number 18 there, corresponding to today. It's November 18, of course, in case, you need a little help with the time and date. It's 9:11 a.m. It's Monday morning. And it's, isn't it getting close to gobble time? Yeah. See, I think my wife, I think Marilyn, we have let's see, how do I play? We have 4 kids, 3 boys and a girl. All right. Well, we have 1 boy in Virginia. We have 1 girl in Maryland. Now, girl, 50. But who's counting? And we have 2 boys that live right nearby, within 1/2 mile. That's 2,000 feet, roughly. Right? Holy miracle. I'm just looking at a little delayed broadcast up here. And the Dems are trying to recount who has won the senatorial position in Pennsylvania. Now, here we are 2 weeks, just about, from Election Day, and they're still counting ballots in Pennsylvania. Not for the president. Apparently, he's got so many winning ballots. It's too big to rig. Remember that thing they used to chant? Too big to rig. Well, something like that. Well, so apparently his margin of victory is large enough where it won't change the Pennsylvania thing. And it doesn't matter because he's got so many electoral votes. With 312, something like that. Yeah. Let's see if the House, are they counting House? It's 218 to 212. The Republicans are leading in 3 races, and the Dems are leading in 2 races. So and it's in California. If I can look at the races, which if you look on the left side of your screen, you can see what I see. I see, said the blind man as he picked up his hammer and saw. All right, producers, make this full screen. Oops. There we go. Full screen, sir. Thank you. I've got, there we go. So if you see, I'm going to expand on this. Arkansas, Alabama. There's a GOP race, 8K, Arkansas, maybe. It says AKAL, so in that area, there's a GOP race in which the Republican candidate is up by 3 percentage points, with 98% of the vote counted. And I haven't called a race yet. Why don't they call it a race? They're calling it anyway, so they haven't counted everything yet, so they're not calling it. And, all right, California District 13 with 86% of the vote counted. I'll do a reverse pinch. See that right there in the middle of the screen? 86% of the vote counted. The GOP candidate is up by 1.1%. All right, that's worthy of not calling the race. Here, California District 45. I don't know who's running. With 94% of the vote counted, it's 0. There is no margin of victory in that one, so that's probably a close race. It could go either way. GOP, Iowa, District 1, Congressional District 1 in Iowa. GOP candidate is 0.2% with 99% of the vote counted. There's a Dem. It's not called. There's no check mark. ME02. The Dems are up 0.2 with 99% of the vote counted. There are no check marks here. Pennsylvania 07, Pennsylvania 08, Pennsylvania 10. They're up by from 1% to 1.6% with 99% of the vote counted. They probably already called that race, those races. There's no check mark there. I think that is a what I think we call a Scribner's error. Yeah, they didn't scribe it right because there are only 3 or 4 races left. How do we know? Well, because if I believe there's 435 seats in Congress. It's like musical chairs. There are only 435. So if you add 218 to 212, that's 430. And they got 3 races there and 2 races there. That's 435. That's how it adds up. There aren't 436. There's 435. It's like musical chairs. And everyone gets a seat, but there are only 435 of them. Yep. That's the way it goes. 218 to 212. That's 430. And there are 5 races that haven't been called yet. 3 are leaning Republican and 2 are leading Democrat. We may hear about one of them today. That Arkansas, Alabama one should be called. It has that light pink color. That means it's leaning instead of for sure. And there's no check mark there. So 1, 2, there's 3 of them right there. You can see them on your screen. Iowa, California, and Arkansas or Alabama. There's like a hyphen there. They're probably trying to save paper or something. Then you can see if you look all the way to the more to the right side of this paperwork, you can see 17 seats were likely, and they're all got check marks. And here are these seats. Yep. So Axios. This is a great, what do you call it? URL. If you have an iPad or an iPhone or any kind of a device connected to the internet, I'm going to touch up here in the top of the screen. There, you see that right there? Let's get rid of the keyboard. Whoops. Axios. Axios.com. www.axios.com. That's where you get that. And you can, just within the site, look for something that says 2024 U.S. House election results. So I keep this, I keep this handy so that every day I can go here and tell you folks what's going on with at one point there were 18 races. It was 196 to 200. And, it wasn't clear whether the House was going to go Republican or Democratic. Other than having the House majority, which is nice. Speaking from a Republican, excuse me, I just had a little sip of tea. Got my hot tea here. I'm a hot tea person. Let's add Jimmy Ed back in. There we go. There's Jimmy back over here on the right side of the story. Someone that we know real well, knew real well. He's in He passed away a few years ago. The Honorable Clay Shaw. He won 9 elections for I believe it was the 22nd District of Florida, which is a long, skinny thing from Palm Beach County all the way down to Dade, the whole beachfront, which, it was a very, for a Republican, which he was a Republican, but he was a dearly, dearly loved Republican, and he kept winning re-elections even though it was highly Democratic. The beachfront all the way from, spanning 35 miles, I believe, the northern beachfront with the condos going all the way up from North Dade County to Southern Palm Beach County. We were in his district. We were fortunate enough because of Phil Motter, my banking partner. We bought a bank with 50 of our best friends. Everybody put up a few dollars, and we ended up creating a bank holding company, and we bought a bank in Hollywood. We bought a sick one that Jimmy was responsible, yours truly. So I found the sick bank because I went on the FDIC website, and this one was glowing, and this bank in Hollywood the symbol was glowing in the dark. It had problems. Yeah. But I went in there and met with the chairman of the bank and and a couple of the board members. Myself, I told Phil, I said, raising money and we don't have a bank, it's kind of hard to convince your friends, even friends, give us $1 million and we'll go find a bank maybe. That doesn't work. I said, Phil, I'm going to go find, you go do what you're doing, and, massage all those contacts that you got a lot of them. I'm your banking guy, so I'm experienced in buying banks. So, because of my other life, I'm going to go buy a bank. All right. I'm going to get it under contract, and I'm going to take a picture of the bank from the parking lot. And then you can put it in a brochure and say, we have that bank under contract. We're buying it. And Jimmy, my genius sitting next to me, has reviewed the portfolio, and we know how to fix it. And not only do we know how to fix it, it's in a great market. And we're going to grow this guy, and we're going to create a branch in Boca Raton, and we're going to really have a nice little community bank here. And guess what? We raised $7 million. But you see, you gotta have a picture of the bank. Legitimately, you can't just take a picture of any old bank. You gotta go meet with, so I had a definitive agreement. I had made a contract with the board, and we're gonna do this and we're gonna do that, and you're gonna let us in and look at your portfolio, and which we did. And I found the 40, let's see. Yeah, there were like 35 assets that needed to be massaged, as they say, either eliminated from the portfolio by persuasion to have the borrower pay the loan off. How about that? We did not have to foreclose a single asset. We rehabilitated that entire portfolio, and our net loss was like $17,000, which is that's like a miracle. One of the state bank officials says, Jimmy, that is a miracle. We've never seen that kind of, result, because we're ready to write off $4 or $5 million out of that portfolio. No, well, when you only raise $7 million, the last thing you want to do is have to write off $5 million. That would have made our investors very unhappy. Yeah, we'd probably be in some form of litigation, actually. No, we did it. We did it. I knew, I put a plan together. I had this. I created a form. The government loves forms, so I created a form, a cited asset report. CAR. It was called a CAR in the credit department. A CAR, cited asset report. Yeah, and up on the top, you named the borrower and the address and the contact and the telephone number and the alternate telephone number, and blah, 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 and some financial, couple of lines on the form, with the asset liability net worth of this guarantor or that guarantor. I have 4 or 5 lines available for guarantors, endorsers, whatever. You have something on the asset. What is it? It's meaning the collateral. It's a strip club. No, nope. You do not want to make a loan on a strip club. No. They only do that in California. Yeah, no. Anyway, so I went through and I created a form, and it defined what the asset that was impaired, because guarantors went BIPSIC, or the asset, they failed to develop it. They failed to, the economy just got stinky, and they couldn't afford to pay the loan. That happens often, actually. It shouldn't if you make your loans right. You don't want a lot of those. And a commercial bank doesn't have big portfolios of like mortgage residentials, where if things get nasty in the economy, then all of a sudden you have a lot of people that slow down and can't make payments on their, personal residence, which is happens during downturns. Anyway, so we had 43 asset pages. It was like front and back, if you needed a back. And I printed it up on like cardstock. And so the officer, the banker, wrote out these cited asset reports. And then after they wrote them out, then they handed them over to somebody. We created a computerized form, actually. We scanned the form, and this application that I had found somewhere. You could type in the form. You could type it. So it was pretty. And then I'd print them out on cardstock. Yeah. And that became the basis of, us buying that bank. And then in this booklet that I made up, I had the 43 pages of cited assets. And then I had a copy of the contract that we had for buying the bank. And then I had a few things, something in there, a public bio for Bill Motter, and a public bio for Jimmy, yours truly, and a little 1 page on the bank holding company, the holding company. Because we didn't own a bank yet. So if you're wondering why these companies, if you've noticed on, and they say Sudden Security Bank Corp, but it's with a C, BANC CORP, Bang Corp, Bank Corp. Sounds like bank, but you can't. It is not legal for you to call it Sudden Security Bank Corp if you don't actually own a bank yet. So if you're going to be a holding company that's going to be buying a bank, your first one, but you haven't closed on the purchase yet, you can't have a K after BANC. You can't. So you put a C there instead of a K. So our company was Southern Security Bank Corp. Yes, sir. And once, anyway, so we had a page that talked about Bank Corp. The principles, the amount of capital raised, and how much is put aside to buy the bank, and a story about buying the bank. And I bound that all up in a spiral binder, went to Kinko's and made 25 of those. Phil and I and our regulatory affairs consultant, we have to have one of those, Jerry Dolan, marvelous young lady who used to be the former director of banking state of Florida. How about that for your consultant? Yes, the former director of banking. And of course, she knew everybody by first name basis in the entire banking division in Tallahassee. So we flew up there and made a pitch to the state of Florida because we had to convince them to permit us to proceed to buy the bank. And so they wanted to know that we had a plan. So Phil and Jimmy and Jerry Dolan flew. She was with Deloitte and Touche. This was 20 years or so ago. We made that presentation, yes. So it was Jerry. So when we were done, we all broke up. We had this 2-hour meeting. And I passed out these booklets, and they were all like, ooh, these guys are serious. Jimmy, who? This is really pretty nice. They have every asset. They have a plan on how to resolve every asset. They've disclosed every single asset. They don't just show a financial statement and say with a circle around the bad number. They've got every asset delineated. Holy shit-a-la-moly. So we met out in the corridor, everyone. There's like 25 people in this conference room. I have to put on this presentation, which is fine. I mean, that's what you got to do. Phil was the chairman of the company. I'm vice chairman, and we're both, we owned, 90% of the company because we haven't raised any money yet, or not much. The Butler family in Deerfield was known well to Phil, and they put up they wrote the first investment check. Yes, sir. $100,000 came from the Butlers, and they, put up, I think like $2.7 million. They put up like 30% of the entire capital of the company. Thank God for the Butlers. Yeah. I know we raised money from, everyone else we had in our Rolodex. Like 60 people. Including the president of Marine Midland Bank. I did participations with Marine Midland, and I got to know the president real well. Yeah. He came down and visited, stayed in our house, actually. Yeah, I gave them hundreds of millions of dollars worth of loans that were closed and paid back, and closed, funded, paid back, closed, funded, paid back. Big, 20-story condominiums, all kinds of stuff. That's what I used to do. I made loans on big buildings, construction loans. Yep. Office buildings, condominium towers. I was actually part of the line of authority to build Joe Robbie Stadium way back in 1981-2, right in that zone. A few years ago, right? Joe Robbie Stadium, 26,000 car parking lot, 75,000 seat stadium. Whew. Built it from the dirt up. That wasn't a renovation loan. That was a, build them up. Oof. That was, that was 150, $150 million loan, round numbers. Southeast Bank, which I was one of the 5 regional heads. They divided the state up into 5 regions. We were Region 2, the second largest region. Roman numeral 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. In order of size, Dade County was Region 1. They had the most assets. Tampa was Region 2. Marilyn and I moved to Tampa to run Region 2. Marilyn was in the retail bank, and I was in the, what they call the corporate bank. Corporation stuff. Yeah. Made a bunch of loans there. Oh, that was an exciting. We were there for like 10 years. I love Tampa. Ooh, what a place. And then I had an opportunity to come over here to Boca Raton to be the senior lending officer for Boca Bank. How about that for 2 B's? Arthur Bellis was good enough to cause me to be hired. He was, maybe vice chairman of the bank, chief, I think maybe CEO. Kind of forget. He wasn't president. That was Jim Barr. So between Arthur Bellis and Jim Barr, they decided to hire Jimmy from Tampa and move me from Tampa to Boca. And they did. They paid the bills, thank God. Whew. Pack them and move them. Pack them and move them. Southeast Bank packed and moved us from Miami to Tampa. 10 years later, Boca Bank packed them and moved them from Tampa to Boca Raton. And here I am since 1990. We love Boca Raton, yes. Yep. I don't know if I had to pick. No, I guess I have to pick over here because we did the Southern Security Bank deal, which is very exciting. Yeah, we ran that for 12 years and then merged. Got in the middle of all the merger stuff. And that was when I exited Southern Security. Because, Phil was an older guy and I was a younger guy. And I figured, you know what? They're going to pick one of us. And I don't want to compete against my partner to save my job and have him be kicked out. So, and they had to keep one of us because of our shareholders and so forth. So I figured, I'll put my hand up and I'll make a deal and get out. And I did. I made a deal and got out. I had a friend of mine who says the first money out is the best money out. So I took my stock and turned it in the money and hit the high road. Yeah, if I had it all over again, I would have figured out how to stay. I would make a deal with, the majority of the shareholders that we're going to merge with. Where I'll stay, but you got to keep Phil and get it in writing. I should have done that because, as it turns out, one of the vice chairmen of the NewCo, new company, NewCo. You get very creative when you're trying to form a corporation that doesn't own anything yet, and you're trying to raise money, right? You got to have an entity. So, anyway, so they formed NewCo, and the big fish keep eating the bigger fish. Well, we were a small fish, so, but I think hopefully all our investors made a few dollars. Anyway, one of the gentlemen that was head of Coral Gables turned out to be a really interesting character. And I should have stayed on and played with him for a few years, because I think we could have done a lot of other interesting things together. Because he's a creative guy, I'm a creative guy, and I think it would have been very interesting. Yep. But I did what I told you. I got out early and just went on and did other things. Anyway, so here I am, 30 years later, doing a radio show, podcast, whatever the hell they call this, where you talk to the internet. Yes. Guess what? Here's exciting news. If at 9:42 a.m., if anyone is still tuned in here, so Marilyn and I went to Flakowitz. We're in Boca Raton, so we drove north a few blocks to Flakowitz. It's in about 20th Street up there on Federal Highway on the west side of the road. It's been there a long time, Flakowitz. It's one of our favorite breakfast spots during the weekend. Yep. So on Saturday, I guess it was, Saturday or Sunday. Was it yesterday? No, it was Saturday. This is Monday, right, Jimmy? Hello? Anybody home? Yep. Anyway, it was Saturday, yeah. We're walking through Flakowitz to get a table. So they seat you. We waited online for 8 minutes or so. And we know everyone never goes through there all the time, So Holly goes and walks us over and said, "Mr. Wilson, would you like to inspect the table before you sit?" I said, "Sure, let's go for a little inspection." So we walk through this crowded restaurant. We get over to table 54, and I said, I don't know. I don't like this table. She said, "I didn't think you'd like this table." So we walked back to the front. She said, "But I have another one. Table 14 over there in the corner. That booth is going to open up any minute now. So I'll seat you in about 5 minutes. Just stand here and don't get excited." I said, "I'm not excited. That's fine." We made an inspection and the inspection failed. So I know all the table numbers in there. I'm one of these weird guys that knows the table numbers in the restaurants I like. Yeah. And I pick a number or 2 or 3, and I have to sit in one of those 1, 2, or 3 tables, or I don't want to be there. Because where you sit in a restaurant is as important as the restaurant itself. You don't want to, I don't like to sit, where the swinging doors to the kitchen are. So you got all this foot traffic and all the, the doors flapping. No, I will not accept that table. Or if you're near the door that goes in and out to the toilets. Oh, no. I don't want to tell you why I don't want to sit there. We just use your imagination. So I don't want to sit next to the restrooms, and I don't want to sit next to the kitchen. I need to be in this. I don't want to sit near the front door because you got too many people leaning over you trying to figure out if you're done yet so you can get out of the table they want to sit at, So I got to be back somewhere, not necessarily in obscurity. I don't like to sit in back rooms either. No, I got to be in the main dining room. Yeah, oh boy. There's a really great Italian restaurant. It's like Trattoria Romano. Trattoria Romano. It's a marvelous Italian restaurant. Oh my God. Oh, they had a bouillabaisse there that was so good. I still think about it. We haven't been there in like 5 years. Hopefully it's still good. We need to look it up. But anyway, there was a table. There was 4 of us. Marilyn, myself, and our 2 sons. We were celebrating someone's birthday or something. So the young lady starts to, Mr. Wilson, your table is ready. So is all your party here? Yeah. I said, yeah, we're all here. We've been waiting. So we had a reservation. You got to have a reservation there. You walk in there, they'll just tell you to go home because they're always overbooked. So if you don't have a reservation at a time and your name is got to be in the, what do you call it, or else they're going to tell you to get out of there. Nicely. Anyway, so this tall young lady starts to, they're in the fast march. Get you seated and get back to the front desk. That's what she's got to do. She's walking real fast, and she's heading for the back room. I said, sweetheart, excuse me, stop. I mean, you don't want to grab them because then you'll be, prosecuted for assault. So I had to speak up a little bit. So I barked at her. If she turns around, I says, we're not going in the back room. So let's go back to the front. We're going to be in this main dining room here, and I want to sit in one of these 4 tables. Okay? And she looks at me like I got 2 heads. I said, yeah, look, these 2 are paying. We want to be in one of these 2 tables. So, 3 minutes later, we sat in one of those nice tables right in the middle of the main dining room. And we had I remember the bill was $660 for 4 people. So, they whack you pretty good. And this is like 6-7 years ago. Holy miracle. $660. So it was like $580 or, something like that. So Brennan, he says, well, Dad, how much of a tip you going to leave? I said, well, if you don't leave a 20% tip, they're going to shoot you. So they're going to throw pies at you when you go out the door. So I'm going to, that is $580. 20% of that is like, I said, I know. I said, what are you going to do? You got to pay the servers. They make $6 an hour plus tips. So, remember Trump? No tax on tips? No, that's now. Wow. Jeez. I mean, Trump was his people were smart cookies. He goes to Arizona and Nevada, right? Reno, Nevada, they got casinos. Yeah. Caesar's Palace, they got all these casinos out west. So he has rallies out there in Nevada and Arizona. No tax on tips. 80% of the population that's under 50 or 60 or 70, I should say, under 70, they're servers, in the casinos. That's what the whole, all these cities are, basically casino service people, restaurants. They all feed on each other, and then you have these population centers, and they all have restaurants to serve the servers, because they have to eat. They eat out. They don't have time to sit home and cook, so they're eating out. The bigwigs are eating out in the casinos, so everything is, they're serving on the servers. And no tax on tips. They all go, holy mackerel, what's his name? We're going to vote for him. They didn't care how you spell his name. Yeah, it's a T, with a T. Then he flies around somewhere else and he says, no tax on Social Security. Oh, my God. Do you know how many? I mean, these are pretty smart people that, God, campaign, it's got to be, how you live through that. You got to lose a couple of years of your life just having to go through that exercise. But Trump, he loves those rallies. He brings them, oh my God, because of, the guy's a celebrity. Forget president candidate. He's a celebrity if he was selling shoes, it's amazing. People love, in a Trump rally, you don't need to start off with a name band or, Beyonce or anything like that. He just has to show up, and 60,000 people will line up for 2 days to see Trump. I mean, it's like the guy has this drawing power. That's whether you like Trump or not. I mean, it's I'm not speaking politically whether it's a D or an R. It's irrelevant. The guy is when he was building buildings in Manhattan, he was a D. He was a big D. I grew up, 10 blocks away from where he grew up. He was in a slightly better neighborhood than we were, but my father did okay for an immigrant from I guess they would call it Western Russia, right near the Czechoslovakian border. That's a word to spell. Czechoslovakia. Ooh, that's a bit. I was trained as a biochemist. Okay, biology pre-med student, and I had to learn all the big words. I could not learn how to spell them unless I could pronounce them. So, and my mother was an English scholar, I should say a language scholar. I can't even speak, but yeah, she was a language scholar, and I was not. Oh God, I was her favorite project. How do we turn this kid that likes to take TVs apart in the basement? How do we turn him into a regular person? Oh yeah, I took TVs apart and made oscilloscopes out of them, and yep, boy. Anyway, a few years later, here I am, speaking to you at 9:54 a.m. Monday morning, November 18. It is 69.3 degrees in the studio. It is 77.4 degrees outside our balcony in a protected area. Looks like it's may gonna rain. And 57% humidity outside, and 61% humidity inside, probably because I'm blowing off all this robust. Oh gosh, I am intoxicated with the exuberance of my own verbosity. How about that? Yes, I am. Yeah. All right, so I hate to say this. It breaks my heart. But I read today in the news that there's a chink in the armor for our good friend Pete Hegseth, the Fox News co-host that is nominated as the Secretary of the Defense Department. Oh, God. It turns out, this is so terrible, that in 2017, the police investigated an allegation that Pete sexually assaulted a woman in 2017. And that Hegseth entered into a non-disclosure agreement with this person and paid her money, an undisclosed source of money, to shut up. I don't know how else to put it. My mother used to hate that. Oh my God. Don't say shut up. My mother, she did not like that word. You were not permitted to say shut up to your brother. Yeah, I had a brother and a sister, younger sister, older brother. You're not allowed to use the word shut up. Anyway, so Pete Hegseth entered into a non-disclosure agreement with this young lady somewhere around 2017, so that she wouldn't say, it wasn't a minor. We actually don't know. I just reporting the news. Oh. President-elect Donald Trump made his most significant cabinet choice and set up his toughest Senate confirmation battle yet, tapping Peter Hegseth, Fox News host, 20-year veteran, had a Army medal for something and 2 Bronze Stars, whatever that means, must be good. Must be scary stuff that he had to do in the Army. Life-threatening. Trump has taken special interest in staffing the Pentagon, believing that Hegseth is the right choice to restructure the frickin' Pentagon and the U.S. Army. Woo! Talk about a leap of faith. And I don't say for a second that Peter Hegseth couldn't handle it, because we got a tree stump right now that is in charge of Secretary, of Defense Department, Defense Secretary. Big tree stump, and nothing. It's just one huge bureaucratic mess of waste and of corruption, and you just can't imagine the military-industrial complex. And you can be sure that they don't want to be shook up. They want everything to stay the way it is. And, yep. So, I think the headline news here is that, let me get one more thing. Trump team weighs Pentagon pick after sexual assault allegations surface. What the hell is the matter with these people? The transition team is supposed to check these guys out and, investigate. And, this is... So now you not only have Matthew Gaetz, who's supposed to restructure the Justice Department, and he has people that are willing to swear under oath that they witnessed in some way, Matt Gaetz having sex with an underage girl. Now, how the hell does that happen? So, you mean to tell me Matt Gaetz had sex with a 17-year-old, and he's got a couple of girls in bleachers watching him? What the hell? How does the Justice Department investigated this and said, there's no case here? This is baloney. They would not take the matter up. But the House ethics report, the House has an ethics report, which they were ready to issue Friday, but Matt Gaetz resigned from the House on Wednesday because he was appointed, to be the next, Attorney General. This guy is like, Matt Gaetz. I mean, he won his district in Florida by like 25 points, in a very conservative jurisdiction. And somewhere around the Panhandle is where he, got elected. Big, huge point spread in his favor. He's adored by his constituents. You ever wonder how many people each jurisdiction comprises of? How they figure it out? I can tell you. I may have to do it on our next broadcast because it's you know, they basically take the last census of the entire United States population, citizens, that is, and divide it by 435. And if you take 330 million and you divide by 435, you know what the answer is? I happen to know. Without looking it up in my Funkin' Wagnalls, it's about 748,000 people. Let's just round it to 750,000 people. So every House of Representative person across the country represents on or about 750,000 people. So if you take that 750,000 people and divide it into 20 million, for example, the estimated population of the state of Florida, I'm just throwing a number out there, you get, I know how to do that math. If you divide 750,000 into 20 million, you know what you get? 29. And that's why Florida has 29 House of Representatives people. The Constitution, this little booklet right here that I keep in my back pocket for easy reference. See how skinny it is? It's a little tiny skinny book. There it is. Yep. Turning Point USA sent it to me. Sent me 3 of them. One in my back pocket. There it is. Little book. It has all the amendments. It has the Constitution. I'm seeing, does it have the Declaration of Independence? I mean, it's got it's Constitution and amendments. It's a 75-page, little tiny little booklet. I mean, there you can see it right there. I put a little piece of tape on here just to keep it closed. And it fits right in my back pocket. But I'll put it right here for now. And in this little, in our United States Constitution, that's 258 years old in existence. Yeah. The longest democratically formed government in the world, supposedly. All right. Team Trump. This is the front page of the New York Post. Now, as a former New York, I have to say a New York City guy, grew up in Jamaica, Queens. Now, when I was 11, we moved to Long Island, the North Shore of Long Island, in a fancy neighborhood called East Hills on the North Shore, right near Roslyn Harbor. Went to Roslyn High School. How about that? We have a county commissioner that went to Roslyn High School. How about that? No, it's not me. Yeah. Anyway, the cover of the New York Post. You can see right here a little reverse pinch. Oh, this is, November 13th. It's not today's. Wednesday. There's the Trump team. Yeah, that's right. I clipped this out early this morning. Just looking for some. You can go to New York Post /covers, COVERS, and you can see all these neat covers. I knocked out 2 of them. Here is today's. You see, Monday, November 18th. There you go, late city final. Well, at about 6 a.m., they had this cover already designed and pre-published, so to speak. And they got to print, 1 million of these and put them on street corners everywhere, all over Manhattan. The Jamaica, Queens, all 5 boroughs of Manhattan. boroughs, yeah. And they ship them out to other cities. Yeah. New York. It's a booklet about this thick. Yeah, it's got like 30 pages. That's a guess. And it's a big. It's 14 by. It's a big. The size of when you get these advertisements, via clip coupons, I would say 14 by 12 by 14. Let's see. Yeah, legal size piece of paper, right? 11 and a half by 14. Yeah. So, but instead of 11 and a half, it's a little bit wider because it's almost the aspect ratio of my iPad here. 14 by 12, something like that. It's a big magazine. No, newspaper kind of print, but they have very interesting. The people that do the covers are world renowned. So every morning, I go to New York Post /covers. I have a bookmark on my, on my browser, on my iPad. And there you go. I pop this cover, and there it is. Not loving it. JFK is unhappy with the Happy Meals that he was served on Air Force One. This is a picture of them in the cockpit. I'm sorry. Excuse me. In the cabin. Cockpit now. In the cabin of Trump jet. He's got his own $100 million 757 with two hand-polished Rolls-Royce engines that throw out 50,000 pounds of thrust. So the pilot can put that in fast forward and take off quickly. Yeah. Beautiful plane. Those planes, can sit. Not his plane. But if it was configured to be a commercial, to take schlemiels like me to, to New York from Florida or something like that, where you're sitting on a 757 for 2.5 hours, it'd be configured for like 230 seats. I think his jet holds, I'm going to say 75 seats, maybe 80. The back of the plane is where all the press sits. The press that flies around with him in Trump Force One, he calls it. Because you have a lot of press people that fly all over the place with Trump. They may get dumped in New Jersey because that's where he travels to 2 or 3 cities every day, pretty much, during the campaign anyway. Now he goes back and forth to, New York and Palm Beach International Airport. And then has a motorcade from the airport to Mar-a-Lago. What a story of that place. The C.W. Post estate, home that was built in the 1920s. Back then it cost $20 million. And some judge, in New York, when they're suing him for nothing, said, the attorney general said it was worth $17 million. You gotta be kidding me. It cost $25 million, in 1927. It sits on, 20 acres. It goes all the way from the ocean to the intercoastal. The whole southern tip. The entire southern tip of Palm Beach, of the island of Palm Beach, is Mar-a-Lago. So Meriwether Post died I'm not real good at the dates here because I haven't done an independent study on this, but she died and gave it to the state of Florida because she didn't have any more relatives anywhere. So you had all these assets, so she donated a lot of them to where she donated them, and she gave Mar-a-Lago to the state of Florida. So then the state of Florida said, hey, wow, we got a $25 million estate for, wow, what a prize that is. Well, they didn't realize that it would cost them about $1 million just to take care of the landscaping, because this is an immaculate estate with bushes, shrubberies, levels of shrubberies, all kinds of different horticultural whatever. And it cost them $1 million a year, to go out and, prune the bushes and cut the lawns and pick up the debris, and it's $1 million a year just to service the landscaping. So after a couple of years of that, state of Florida, whoever says, hey, we got to do something about this. It's $1 million a year to cut the bushes. And, we don't know what to do with this. What are we going to do with this thing? We got to hand out tickets. People walk around and look at it. I don't think we could sell $1 million worth of tickets a year for people just to walk around and look at this place. Vacant place. And then you got to have security so people don't, go in there and steal the furniture or maltreat it. Spray nasty things on the walls, whatever. So you had to have security. You had to have one. You had to have someone cut the grass, prune the bushes, and they got lots of bushes and trees and palms. And oh my God, they spared no expense landscaping this place, and had a lot of beautiful lawns and croquet lawns. Croquet, that was very popular in the 20s. We have these little wire things, horseshoes that you stick in the ground, and you have a ball about the size of a softball made out of wood. You got wooden wallets, and you swing this thing between your legs and whack this ball. When I was a kid, we used to play whatever they called it. Croquet, I believe it was called, for the the foo-foo class. Yeah. Jeez. I'm sorry to say my parents belonged to a club. It's called the Nassau Country Club. A bunch of people on the North Shore of Long Island created this club called the Nassau Country Club. And it was an estate property that was, bought by somebody that created this club. Beautiful 27-hole golf course. 3 times 9 is 27, so they had 3 sets of it. 3 9-hole golf courses. So you could play the front course, the back course, That's how they... James, would you like to play the front course or the back course? Sir, I'd rather go home. No, my parents made me learn how to play golf. Oh, boy. And they had the best coaches and stuff. I kicked myself in the pants. I should have taken advantage of that. Because I could have learned really how to play golf. But I just didn't have an interest in doing it. So I didn't do it. But if I had any brains, which I didn't, it was like a blood vein that hadn't opened yet. Had the best tennis coaches. I think they had 17 grass tennis courts. Now, who ever heard of grass tennis courts? Well, back in the 30s, 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, maybe, People played tennis on grass tennis courts. 70s, 80s, 90s, 2000s, you played tennis on clay. The Help played tennis back over there near the parking lot. There were 2 clay courts that the Help played tennis on. The membership played tennis on the grass courts. And the people in between would sit there mid-juleps watching, their husbands, boyfriends, and children play tennis on the grass tennis courts with the net. And you could, you go out there early in the morning, you could smell the newly mowed grass. That smell of recently cut grass. It has an aroma. It's an unforgettable aroma. And we used to play tennis, as kids, So we're little shits, They'd throw us out there on the tennis courts and take tennis lessons and play, so they're like 20 or 30, bunches of kids, maybe 40 kids, play doubles tennis. What are you going to take up 10 courts? So on Tuesdays and Thursday mornings at 8 o'clock in the morning when the senior members, the Misters and Mrs., they didn't like to play tennis on Tuesdays and Thursdays. So the kids would play tennis on the grass courts, supervised by, a whole bunch of tennis pros. And we learned how to play tennis. You got at least the kids hitting the ball straight up in the air, instead of over the net. Yeah, boy. I remember. And smell the newly mowed grass, because they trimmed them every morning. Not every other morning. Every single morning, they had these special lawnmowers that, they're a lawnmower that you would never have at a home. They were powered, but they had landscapers walk behind these big machines with huge blades, probably 3 foot wide cutting paths, and they go back and forth and back and forth. And when they cut those courts, you'd look at that grass, and it was like picture perfect. It's amazing. They weren't happy to have 40 little shits running all over, pardon the expression, lousing up their beautiful grass courts. But that's what they did. Every morning they would mow those courts. And the ladies and the gentlemen that played tennis, Monday, Wednesday, Friday. Wednesday, you could not find a doctor or any broadcast Hollywood people. Not Hollywood, but, there's a big broadcast community in Manhattan. Let me tell you, New York City was loaded with people that were in the movie and TV business in Manhattan. Not as much as Hollywood, but it was like half of Hollywood, which is, when you divide a lot by 2, it's still a lot. And I'll tell you what, Wednesday afternoons, they were out at Nassau Country Club playing golf or tennis. Yes, sir. You don't get a doctor's appointment on Wednesday afternoon. All the doctors and all the attorneys and all the media, movie, television executive types were at Nassau Country Club. The Davis Cup. We've all heard of the Davis Cup tennis finals. Well, before Arthur Ashe Stadium, which was called something else until Arthur Ashe passed away, a famous tennis player that got a bad pint of blood and it killed him. Because ended up with got AIDS because of bad blood. He survived the operation but got killed by the blood. Well, that's why it's Arthur Ashe Stadium. Anyway, before it was Arthur Ashe Stadium. So there's a lot of active interest in tennis, and they had grass courts in there too. And we lived close enough to that stadium where we could actually see, the stadium lights and hear the cheering from our front yard. If you got on a real tall ladder, you could probably see it. Oh boy. So, but before that stadium was built, they played the Davis Cup at the Nassau Country Club tennis courts. Yes, sir. The Davis Cup was played at Nassau Country Club. You can look it up. We were members of the club, and I remember they would erect a stadium seat, stadium seat bench things all around the courts at Nassau Country Club. They'd assemble it and basically make a mess of our country club, or my parents' country club. There were 300 members, closed. The number is fixed at 300. It was part of the, I'll say, contract. Only 300 named members in Nassau Country Club. They had like 2 generations of people waiting in line to get in that club. Someone had to die. Literally. A member would have to pass away and relinquish their membership because of death. And then the next person on the list would be offered a membership. And the last I heard, which was a long time ago, they had what they considered 2.5 generations of people waiting online to join Nassau Country Club. That's how exclusive that place was. Oh yeah, well my father got a membership in there, like, back when he got it, there was a short list when he joined. And he was an important person because he supplied all the steel for the grading, on bridges and things. Bridges and what they called the L's, the elevated trains. Well, all that steel, it's a lot of steel. My father sold to Manhattan all the steel. It's a lot of steel. Yes, sir. So he was an important guy. He knew everybody, of course, because with all the, oh gosh, can you imagine all the negotiations and stuff going on to win all the New York contracts to build all the bridges and tunnels and stuff that required steel? I don't think he supplied the railroad track. I mean, I don't know. I never thought to ask the question. But, how about all the railroad tracks? With all the trains and the subways and all that. I don't know who supplied that steel. So it was a lot of, all the grading work though. The L's, these huge steel beams, and then went across this way. They call them L's, upside down L's. And then the train tracks would go on the, across the L's. All that steel, my father and his factory built the steel. Oh, lordy, what a crazy. I mean, it's a long time ago, talking 1930s, 40s, 50s. I wasn't even born yet. My mother was my father's secretary at the steel company. And she was a beauty. Yes, sir. Valedictorian of Jamaica High School, my mother was, and went on and became a linguist. She was fluent in 5 languages, of course. I don't know why everyone is fluent in 5 languages. They have their native language and 4 others. So you add it all up. 4 plus 1 is 5. Obviously English was her native language. Her father was a mechanical engineer who invented the. I mean, these stories go on, and I swear to God, they're honest. So my mother's father invented the portable typewriter. He literally handmade it out of stainless steel in the basement of his row house in Jamaica. He handmade. He had machine, metal machine equipment in his basement, and he handmade the first portable typewriter, which was, a push 'em in it. The little thing goes up and whacks, a tape that had ink on it, and then it would make an impression on a piece of paper, like, ASDFG semicolon LKJH. Don't tell me why I know that, but ASDFG semicolon LKJH. There it is, right in the middle of your keyboard. Folks, put your fingers right on those keys. Don't you remember typing class? POILOY QWERT. Come on, you have to know your keyboards, folks. Yeah. Yeah. No, I went to typing class. Can you imagine? Okay, ready? And then the typing teacher say type, and then you hear all these keys clicking. Typing class. Oh my God. Yeah, you had to type. You had to learn how to type. It's one of those things. It was actually a class. It was like an 8th grader. You had a typing class. Hey, it's like gym class, typing class, math class, history class. Yeah, I was not I was a scientist even when I wasn't one. So, history class, English class, I was as disinterested as a student could possibly be, and be patient in your seat while this class would go on for an hour or 52 minutes or whatever. Then the bell would ring and you'd run to the next class. Remember that? The bell rings. Wish. Had 9 periods, right? Had 9 periods. And you might have 2 study halls and 9 periods. The study hall is where you weren't really in a class, but you sat in an empty classroom and had some books and things with you so that you would do your lessons for the next day or whatever, or sit quietly. And then you had a substitute teacher or something, using these words, that would walk around in study hall and make sure you weren't doing anything that you weren't supposed to do, like pass notes. You were not allowed to pass notes between students. Yes, that was a no-no. So you had this proctor, you had this substitute teacher walking all around the class, making sure that you were studying your next day's lessons, doing your math homework, whatever. There you go. That's what you would, if you were a smart kid. That's what you would do. You do your math work in the study hall. That way you didn't have to do your math work at home. That'd be done. But if you're a goofy little stupid kid, you goof off and don't do anything in there. You sit there and try to, draw pictures of the annoying teacher that'd be walking around trying to proctor you, try to keep you quiet. Not allowed to pass notes. Why the heck, let the kids pass notes. What the hell? At least it keeps them quiet. Nope, couldn't pass notes. It was, they didn't call them study halls. I forget maybe that's what they did call them. Study hall. which was a vacant room that you sat in, not seventh period, for example. You didn't have a class. I'm making that up. You go to study hall in period 7. You go to your math class in period 8. And period 9 would be maybe another study hall. It seems like you had 1 or 2 study halls every day or every other day or something, to make up your 9-period day. And you have all these kids in all these different shifting around into different rooms, because your homeroom, remember homeroom, you'd be in there all in one of the classrooms, and you'd stand. Look, I need to do a little research on this, and if any of you could do some research, you could call me at 416-1100.com. Maybe tomorrow's broadcast, and give you time to look it up. I want to know, I'm serious, I want to know when and who decided that there'd be no more American flags in the front left of the classrooms. Every classroom that I went to, all during elementary school, high school, middle school, college, university, there was a flag on a big stanchion in the front left corner of every classroom in the school or university. Every single classroom. Not every other classroom, every classroom. Number one, who decided get all the flags out of the classrooms? I want to know when and who ordered that. Someone had to order that, because these school systems and universities, if for no other reason, they paid a lot of money. I mean, each one of those flags, if you go to Flag USA or something, Allegiance to the Flag, nice flag company. I have a flag right here that was made by the Flag Allegiance people. I'm going to bend this camera around and you can see maybe part of the flag. Ooh, you can see the red stripe up here. Yeah, I'm sorry you can't see the rest of it. But I have a flag covering up my soundboard here. You walk into my studio, the first thing you see is the American flag. What the heck? Pledge allegiance to the flag. Every student, so you had homeroom, that's what part of it. You had a flag up in front, right? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, for which it stands, and one nation under God, and all this stuff. Where the hell all the flags go? Who said get the flags out of the classrooms, and when? Who and when did that happen? That's an important day, and who did it? That was the beginning of all this flag burning. The kids today, for an entire 25-year period of time, it had to be, because it had to be 25 years ago or more. So what does that mean? We have an entire generation of Americans that don't have really much respect for the flag, other than, hearing about respect for the flag, seeing it on TV or something. The military, oh yeah, they're still waving the flag. Yeah, oh yeah, in the morning, when they play taps and you get out there, you stand in front of a huge flagpole, right? So that's every morning, they play taps, and when you first get in the military, the first thing you do is every morning at 6 a.m., bam, I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and for which it stands, one nation under God. And then what did they do with all the flags? That's all. I was going to say a shitload of flags. That's a lot of flags, and a lot of flagpoles and stanchions, and God almighty. Did they just roll them up and put them in a back room, or, it makes me cry inside that all these flags were taken out of our classrooms. Someone decided, city by city, county by county, state by state. Someone probably in some high government position said, no more flags, take them out of the classrooms. I want to know how that happened. Someone help me with that. Send me a text. I'll figure out how to Google it if I can think about it after the show, so to speak. It makes me crazy to think about all those flags coming out of the classrooms. And the educators, our educators, control the minds of our youth. And if we don't control the educators, our society will shift, because our young people will not have the respect that we received when we were little whippersnippers. Right? I mean, you got all the little kids, they don't say the Pledge of Allegiance. Forget that. Say the pledge. If we were to say that right now, the kids would look at us and say, do what? Has our country been taken over by, Japan or something? Oh, gosh. If it wasn't for the Battle of Midway, our flag would have a big red dot in the middle of it, The Japanese flag. Jeez. Well, Battle of Midway went a different way. And Japan was not capable of taking over the USA. Whew. We got lucky. We got good and we got lucky. Yes, sir. But anyway, so the flag thing annoys me. And, no more pledge. So if you wonder, you're sitting around, you're watching your TV as a 75-year-old person, for example, or a 65-year-old person, or a 55-year-old person, or an 85-year-old person, and you're sitting on your couch watching the news, and you're wondering why our youth doesn't have respect for our country. Not everybody, but you're wondering why a certain percentage of our youth does not have respect for our flag or our country. It all comes down to they took the flags out of the classrooms. The educators of our children decided no flags in the classrooms. Maybe that's one of the reasons why Trump wants to just totally demolish the United States government Department of Education. We spent more per student than any industrialized country in the world, and we're near the bottom of the list of academic capacity of our youth. That's a sad, sad story. And we are spending more per student by more than double. It's like more than triple. It's a crazy statistic. And when you look at the graphs that I have seen, which I haven't memorialized here for you, but by a factor of 250%, we spend more money than any other industrialized student population. And we're near the bottom. We're not on the very bottom, but, of the 43 nations or whatever, something like that. We're like 39th out of 43. And we spend more money by a factor of 250%. So we're obviously, pardon the expression, ladies, we're obviously pissing away a lot of money. It's grinding through the system of bureaucratic BS and not really going into educational systems that will, cram more knowledge in our youth's heads, learning about the world and learning how to read and science and engineering and all that kind of stuff. You know, shit, I was an engineer at 11 years old. I was taking apart and putting back together and creating all kinds of things and gadgets when I was 12. You know, you learn how to. You go to engineering school to get a degree. You know, but if you really are at an engineering head, you're doing that right from, you know, playing in the backyard. You were engineering. Yep. God, I was operating a radio station when I was like 11. Can you imagine? Just talking like I'm talking now. I was doing this when I was 11 years old in the North Shore of Long Island. I put this stupid antenna on the top of my house, my parents' house, I should say. I was an occupant of my parents' house, and I put this antenna up there. And my father came home and he said, "What's that?" He was, he was a very strict Russian commander. Not really a commander, but he was, oh God, part of the Russian aristocracy that got run out of Russia. His parents ran away out of Russia, part of the Russian aristocracy. And they were murdered in Manhattan. The Bolsheviks went out all over the world to find the Russian aristocracy and killed them. My father survived. His parents did not. They were murdered in their bed in the middle of the night. And my father was 9, hiding underneath the bed, and survived the break-in of the Bolsheviks, killing my grandparents, I guess I would say. Yep. My father had no house, no place. He lived on the streets of Manhattan, slept on cardboard. He showed me one of his favorite places where he slept, in a little corner between two big buildings. And they'd collect cardboard and put it together. That was his mattress. I mean, it's hard to imagine, right? So we're talking, 1920, 1919. He'd get blankets and stuff and wrap himself up because it's cold in Manhattan. Cold and windy. Lived on the streets of Manhattan. Grabbed food from bakers and stuff. They knew who he was. Jeez. It's hard for me to even imagine that. And to consider the life that he created for me when I was a kid. I mean, it's like, you talk about an American story. Holy mackerel. This guy's sleeping on the streets of Manhattan when he's 9. And he's a member of Nassau Country Club, which is the most exclusive club, in a 20 million population SMSA, Standard Metropolitan Statistical Area, SMSA. Yeah. Whew. Boy, he came a long way. He was a tough guy. I'll tell you that. He was a tough guy. Yeah. He was a conservative. When the liberals chase you out of a country and murder your parents, you learn how to be a conservative. You're a conservative automatically. Yeah, liberals, because the liberals are the ones that's what the other side of the political spectrum are. The liberal societies. The kind that don't want borders. Yeah, let everybody in, sure. What the hell? You got hundreds of millions of people that love to be here, right? Well, we can't afford to feed everybody, right? And we need some immigration because our country grows, and we need the labor force. Immigrants are, I'm a naturalized born citizen, born in Jamaica, Queens, in Mary Immaculate Hospital. I have a birth certificate here somewhere, a real one, and a couple of passports. So my background has been checked by the State Department. Our passports have expired, by the way. I got them all filled out. We just need to go down and get the photos taken. You got to have digital photos now, and you can actually renew your passport electronically. But you need the digital fingerprints, and you need the digital photos, and you digitally connect them to these digital passports. I actually have printed passports. I have to figure out how to make them digital again, which I just scan them, create some kind of a file that the State Department likes. And in 3 or 4 months, you get passports. You don't have to go to the post office anymore. You can go online and get the form, fill it out. I guess I'll have to do that. Fill out the form again electronically on the State Department server. Attach the digital fingerprint. Attach the digital photo. And push send. That's what I imagine this is all about. I read about it. When I read about it, it was in the pilot program where they did it until 1 p.m. At 1 p.m., they cut it off. So you got all these people waiting online to do the digital passport, right? So it was hard to get in the queue because at 1 p.m. they pulled the plug. Well, now the system is live, I think 24/7. It's working, and I haven't heard any complaints about it. I'll have to go diddle with it. Anyway, so that's the deal with the passports. Marilyn's got a couple of days off. We need to comb our hair and go get our passports taken, the pictures taken, and our fingerprints. Go down to there's like a store that takes UPS packages and takes post office packages. It's not a post office though. It's a private company that has a shipping store or something. In the small independent store. It's been there for 25, 30 years. So go over there. Nice people, that own it. You can actually see an owner sitting in the back instead of these huge companies that they're owned in Maryland or something or other, and you got 4,000 stores all over the country. Something goes wrong, you're pretty much what they call SOL. The O and the L is out of luck. You can put the first word in any way you want. All right, 1 hour, 49 minutes and 43 seconds. I think that will. So those are the most interesting covers. Tomorrow we're probably going to hear all about this gentleman right here, because that is, in Trump world, I think a little bit of a nightmare to have one of his cabinet members having been investigated by a police department in 2017 for sexual assault. And he signed an NDA and she violated the NDA. So he paid her an undisclosed amount of money to shut up. She decided not to shut up because she's obviously someone that's trying to make some money and pay more to shut up. Well, it's out. The story's out, so she's not going to get any money for any more shut up money. It's amazing. Eesh. So, assault. Yeah. So he paid some gal money to not discuss whatever she think happened to her, signed a document, notarized document, saying, I will not talk about this, and I'm going to receive a fee as compensation where I promise I will not talk about this anymore. And it didn't happen, or whatever that document says. And then she got paid money for that. This is all I haven't read. This is a story that I haven't read yet. I just know the little flashpoints I showed you. This is not a good day for the Trump transition team, because this is published by the New York Post. Trump team weighs Pentagon pick after sexual assault allegations surface. Oh, crap. This is... Oh, God. Eesh. This was published on November 15th at 10 a.m. And updated, at 4 p.m. So they break the story, and then they go back and cover their fannies and get other, angles on it. The Washington Post. I'm sorry, I used the wrong post. It was the Washington Post. Reported that Donald Trump's pick for Defense Secretary, Fox News personality Pete Hegseth, paid a woman who accused him of sexual assault as part of a non-disclosure agreement. He insists the encounter was consensual. Oh boy. She said it was okay. And then I did it. And now she was saying, no, I don't think it was as consensual as you think. Oh, God. That's the kiss of death for anyone entering the political world. Much less what your grandpa thinks. Can you imagine your family saying, oh, shit. God. Pardon me. I mean, oh, God. Trump had enough of his own trouble, somehow or other, because he's a huge celebrity. He avoided it. But his pick for the Defense Department, for the Secretary of Defense? What? Oh, crap. So now you got a battle between consensual and non-consensual. And he was investigated by amid new revelations that police investigated the allegations that he sexually assaulted her. There was a police investigation. So there's means police reports. Dig through the records in 2017. We don't know what police department or, where. So it's somewhere between New York and Minnesota, probably. I think he's a Minnesota guy. 2017. That's 27. So he was a Fox personality, so to speak, in 2017. It's like 8 years ago. 7 years ago. 7 and 7 is 14, right? Oh, God. 17 and 7 is 24. Isn't this 2024? How about that for some fast math? Yeah, right? Oh, my God. Oh, Lordy. Oh. Okay. Well, I will get to the bottom of this today. I'm sure the news wires are going to go crazy over this. Or they're going to find out that there's nothing to it and this is all a bunch of baloney. I don't know. I don't know anything about the Washington Post. It's a liberal publication. They're all liberal publications. Some are more liberal than others. There are a few middle of the road publications. I don't think the Washington Post is one of them. Yep. That is a mess. So this guy now is going to be bobbing and weaving. I'm sure he is in heavy conversations with the transition team, with the headquarters of Mar-a-Lago. The whole Trump family is going, oh crap. Because they told Papa, we checked them out. And they didn't. I wouldn't want to be that person sitting in front of our president-elect saying, we checked out Pete. And somehow or other this didn't surface. Well, when you have someone that wrote a book on how to dismantle, he wrote a book, published a book, it was a best-selling book. And it's a relatively recent one. He wrote several books. He's, you wouldn't know it, but he has been a relatively, not a huge, but a relatively prolific book writer. Graduated Princeton, Harvard. He went to the two, Harvard, Princeton, Yale. When I grew up, those three words were the academic creme de creme. Yeah, the top shelf students get into Harvard, Princeton, and Yale. Yep, there's those. Now you've got others, like MIT, and you got Stanford, there's a few others. I wouldn't call Stanford second tier. I'd put up there, to me it'd be Harvard, Princeton, Yale, Stanford. You got to put Stanford in there. That is, that is a creme de creme school too. Yes. So, with that happy news, 58 minutes later, well, tomorrow I'll be here, same time, same place, 9 o'clock, sharp. My wife tells me, Marilyn says, you got to have a starting time that's the same every day. You're broadcasting, people are listening to you, and they don't know when to turn it on. They're not going to sit there all morning wondering when Jimmy's going to wake up. I'm up, 5:30, I'm up every single day. 4:47, whatever. I'm an early, I get up before the chickens. Yes, sir. I get up before the rooster. Yeah, I would say if I had to add it up, I'm up at 5:15. Yeah. Sleep till 9, that doesn't happen. No. And I go to bed at 11. I pretty much try to get myself to get horizontal at 11. Yeah. So, what the heck? I get 6 hours sleep. That's all I can. I can't sleep more than 6 hours. That's about my limit. So I'm moving around all the time, everywhere I've been. I get up early. And I go to bed at 10:30, 11 o'clock. Usually 11. All right, well, the transition team's got all kinds of things to chew on. With a couple of wars around the planet. Because, they were afraid of Trump. They're not afraid of Biden. So these bad guys, they peek their head up and they see they can wreak havoc and maybe conquer some property or steal some natural resource. It always has to do with real estate or natural resources. I remember that in social studies. That all the major wars around the planet had to do with people wanting natural resources that some other government had. So they go in and try to take it with military force. And, whether it's in minerals, oil, coal, gold, silver, platinum, lithium. It's a new one because of the lithium batteries, right? We got lots of lithium. We got lots of everything. We got more oil than Saudi Arabia and all of them put together, I'm told. We got liquid gold under our feet. It's almost squirting up through this. It's amazing. And Drill Baby Drill is going to really bring the prices down quickly because petroleum is needed to transport all the food, vegetables, fertilizers, the equipment to hoe and do everything you do with growing vegetables. Energy is needed to plow it, harvest it, clean it, transport it. Energy is needed for all of that. So energy may be, 25, 30% of what, the cost of a product is. So if you can cut the energy cost by half, you're going to lower the price of the goods or services that you're providing to society. Gasoline comes way down. You start increasing inventory. The law of supply and demand, that's not very complicated. Most government people forget about the law of supply and demand. I don't know. I mean, some of these people are gifted in certain things. And basic economy, they're not too sharp with, apparently. All right, well, we'll see. We got a lot of things going on. Elections are over, so where do all the political people go after the elections are over? Let's see how we can stop the political party that just won everything. And the first thing they do is they do the ultra scrutiny of all of Trump's picks for his top-level government people. And Pete Hegseth now, along with Matt Gaetz, you got two of them now that are flashing. Ugh. And Pete's, that's the worst. You got the sexual harassment crap. That's one person's statement against another. All right, so you got a non-disclosure agreement that says, oh, no, it was all consensual. And then she says, nah, I don't think so. It really wasn't. I just was pretending so I could get $20,000 out of this sucker. So is she lying then or lying then or now? Or are you telling the truth now or not then? So you can't have it both ways. So how does that work? Doesn't matter. It's the smear. Because once you get smeared with that, that's on page 1. Page 23 is the resolution of it. If you can find it in real small, no pictures, way in the back. So the headlines is one thing, and oh my God, how do you recover from that? Well, you recover with the truth, but when anything with that 3-letter word sex in it is like the kiss of death for anyone that's on or about near a politician. Yeah. And Pete Hegseth entered the world of politics when he accepted the nomination for the Secretary of Defense, for God's sakes, or anything. And you look the president in the eye and basically affirm that your background is clean. Someone had to ask him that question. Right? How do you not ask that question? Anything going on in your background that could pop up? Is that not at least a verbal question, or check here if you have anything in your background we need to look into. Yeah, but when you're a candidate for something big like that, you kind of like, well, I guess, want to look the other way. I don't know. But he's going to be thrashed. It's hard to believe. I read this in 2 or 3 different places this morning at 5 a.m. And this is nasty stuff. God damn. Well, he's in a world of hurt now because he ain't going to be smiling. He's sweating it out. And you just wonder if the transition team just is now, they got to be looking at alternatives. They have to have a list of other people that could be Secretary of Defense. I mean, this is a pretty crazy, this is a really strong, wild pick. 20-year history in the military, decorated military guy, and then did a few things, and then a 10-year history with Fox News Channel, which is the most watched news network, cable, which is huge audience, 2 or 3 times ABC, NBC, CBS, for any of their news shows or morning shows or night shows, or even Greg Gutfeld, even his crazy show, most watched show, the 10 to 11 o'clock hour. Can you imagine? Gutfeld. I watched that. I hold my nose and watch that. I mean, it's, it's like okay, but it's, half funny and half not funny. So you kind of hunt through there for the half funny part. Saturday Night Live used to be the show to watch. It was hilarious. There aren't any Saturday Night Lives really anymore. Saturday Night Live isn't really any good anymore. They just don't have the talent, I don't think. Or, it's not funny to me anymore. Maybe it's funny to 30-year-olds. But, with Jay Leno or with Johnny Carson, I mean, that was at 11 o'clock at night. That's what you watched. You watched Jay Leno for 20 years or Johnny Carson for 30 years or 30 and 30, lots of years. Now it's none of them are there, and I don't watch it anymore. Okay, I gotta go. It's 11:09. I've got some tea here that's not hot anymore. It's kind of warm. Marilyn's at the beach or just back from the beach. I don't know if she wants to go out and get something to eat. I'm trying to see if maybe if we have a couple of boys that, one of them doesn't work on Monday. The other one maybe does. See if we can grab lunch or something with maybe one boy. Brennan works over at the Royal Palm Yacht Country Club. We're all in the Royal Palm something here in the East Boca Raton. Everything is royal and palm, and but the Royal Palm Yacht Country Club is a very exclusive community of about 700 houses, and the average value today is $13.5 million. That's not a bad average price. Yeah, I have some students in there, digital photography students. I gave private lessons to a couple of people in there that wanted to know how to do digital. I've been on the faculty at FAU for adjunct for 20 years, a little over 20 years, teaching digital before digital was known to many. Okay, all right, 11:11. That's a nice time to shut down. So we'll talk to you tomorrow, 9 a.m. sharp. I'll give you 30 seconds of Epidemic, instrumental, or royalty-free background music.